Hello and welcome back to Flourish 2019. It's your host, Christina Louise. So flippin' excited to be here with you today. Thank you for making the time for yourself, for your family, and to spend it with us. Today, I'm going to introduce you to not your ordinary love coach. Let's find out what that means. And we're going to talk about the number one, the most important piece of your legacy you want to make sure that you impart to your kids before you leave this planet, and the number one problem in your relationship. This conversation is going to knock your socks off and get you feeling all juicy inside. Welcome my guest today, Trudy Stoner. Trudy, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Oh, Christina, it is my honor. Thank you for including me in this. It's such an important message. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So what do they mean when they say that you're not an ordinary love coach?
Well, I see love coaches all the time that are talking about, how to get into the head of the other sex, or how to date more effectively, what to do, strategies, tactics. And that's not really the kind of love coach that I am. I am a love coach that really is an advocate for love and for educating about love, what it really is, how we are sort of operating under this misconception about what love really is, a misunderstanding that we've had our entire lives. And so I am a love coach that really talks about love.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say it's not about trying to get into the other person's head or manipulate anybody to get into a relationship. How do you snag a man kind of thing? Right? So that's not what we're talking about. What are we talking about? We're talking about love, but so many people are confused about what love is. Can you explain?
So many people, right? And you and I kind of touched on this earlier pre-recording, but I believe that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. But in that, we are human and we have egos and we all have stories and limiting beliefs that we cling to from, childhood. And we are taught by very well-meaning adults that love is something that happens outside of us. It's something we get from someone. And then there's a set of rules around it. They have to do this in order to show us. And it's how they show up and it's what they do. And we are not taught that love is actually the highest vibration in the universe, that we come from that energetic source and we return to that. And as spiritual beings made manifest, we really are the embodiment of love. And we're never taught that. And we aren't taught how to show up and actually live as love. And so we get really confused because we're constantly searching. We're looking outside of ourselves. And, it's a lot like a fish looking for water because it's everywhere. It's everywhere and it's what we are. And so I think that we get really confused, and that's where we get into trouble in relationships, because it's all about what's in it for me and what have you done for me lately.
Mm-hmm. I see it going to the other extreme as well, right? It's either all about the other person or it's all about me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
So for me, or there shouldn't be anything in it for me, right?
Absolutely. And that's not love either. That's codependence. That's toxic, right? Because we need to see that loving ourselves it's a huge piece of the puzzle. We have to be in love with ourselves also and realize that we are worthy and we do matter. And we can, and often we do, get into relationships with people that are more toxic. Love is never toxic. It's the people, it's the individuals that are toxic. And until you're willing to do some work and to recognize and to let go of some of those behaviors. I was married to a very narcissistic person, and he, the behavior was really horrific sometimes. And I had to love myself enough to break free from that. And believe me, part of my journey was learning that it wasn't just about pleasing him. It wasn't just about him feeling loved. It wasn't just about what I could do to self-sacrifice, fall on the sword, take one on the chin for love. It was also about nurturing myself, loving myself, and breaking free from that, which I ultimately did. And that really catapulted my growth.
Right. And is that what brought you here today?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Oh, well,
absolutely.
thank you. Thank you for being brave enough to learn what love is, to experience that, to practice that, to align with your purpose, and then to come back and share your wisdom and your natural gifts and talents and everything that you've learned with us here today, and all the women that you get to, and all the people, right? You
Yeah.
don't just work with women, right? Or do you?
You know, I started out just working with women, but then that circle started to expand because mostly word of mouth, you know, that I would have some men contact me and do some pre-coaching conversations, and it was very, very helpful. And I learned very quickly that we are not alone as females on this journey. Men want love too. They want forever love. They want to navigate the waters between you know, women that are showing up really independent, really powerfully, and they don't know what to do. So a lot of times men don't know how, you know, the way they were raised to love, they need to sort of re-educate themselves also about what love is and then how to show up. And they're kind of scared of us a little bit.
And I think that's going to be surprising for a lot of people watching, because we are inundated with these messages from the media that, you know, men just want sex and they don't want commitment, and they want these subservient women who are going to cook and clean for them. But you tell us, is that the case?
Not at all. Not at all. Men have very gentle hearts, and they want to be strong. They want to be our warriors. They want to protect us. That's still very hardwired in them. And that's where they don't know really, because we're a very strong, independent generation of women. And do I open the door? Do I not open the door? Do I call her first? Do I let her call me?
Oh.
Am I being too forward? They really don't know what to do with us. But at the end of the day, they want soul-centered connection as much as we do. They want to meet their person, their soulmate. They want forever love. They want someone that gets them as much as we want someone that gets us.
That is such a, like, I'm so grateful that you shared that with us, that you highlighted the fact that this generation of women are, the rules have changed, our roles have changed, we're much more independent, and so now they're experiencing confusion.
Yeah.
They don't know. That makes a lot of sense. I'm so grateful that you shared that, and that you dispelled this myth that, you know, they're all cowboys and they want to ride. You know, it's like, I knew that we couldn't be that different.
Right. Right.
We're different, but not that.
We're different. We are different. I mean, really, the way that, and this is a really touchy, delicate one, because I don't mean this in a way that women are submissive in any way, right? But men, respect to a man is just as important as love is to a woman. And we have our love languages, and it's important to really know how to communicate those with a partner. And it's important for women to understand that what makes them really tick and really show up and really be present and really fall in love with you is that you really do respect them, because that is as important to them as them loving us is to us. And that language around it is just appreciation and acceptance.
Yeah, I think I read that in like a relationship that I read like 10 years ago, and it said that every human being has the same needs, but that men, generally speaking, their top needs are different than a woman's top needs. So I'm hearing you talk about men needing to feel accepted, appreciated, women needing to feel loved, cared for, and nurtured.
Important. Like we matter, a priority to them.
Yeah.
Because while they're out there slaying the beast, right? They're out there slaying the dragons for us. Then we have to be careful to appreciate that and recognize that, instead of viewing that as like a competition, that, oh, he's picking that over me. He'd rather be slaying dragons. He doesn't want to spend time with me. And then we want that, you know, what has he done for me lately? Well, he's out slaying dragons for you. And I mean, that comes in so many different various forms, but at the end of the day, that is their motive. They want to do that for you. And that's where the respect comes in. When you really, true, pure love. First of all, the unconditional love. Really, there's no such thing, right? No love is ever conditional. When we're talking about like the love of the universe, when we are talking about that highest vibration of the entire universe, love is never conditional. It cannot be.
Mm-hmm.
And so really, when you dial that down, you really start to unpack it. Isn't that just acceptance? Like really being accepted for exactly who you are, where you are in this moment, and being perfect right there, and being lovable and being loved. And I love this because when I'm coaching people to actually exit a toxic relationship, like I left a toxic relationship, there is a difference. There's self-love. That acceptance and unconditional love does not mean that you have to subject yourself to abuse. It does not, that's not self-love, right? But I did not have to make him the enemy, the bad guy, horrible. I could leave in love. I could leave with an acceptance that you're doing the very best you can right now with this moment, but that's hurtful to me, and I choose to love myself more and to leave.
I can identify with that. I stayed in a relationship for many, many years because I thought it was my job to fix this person, to heal him, to support his addictions, to make sure he was happy and comfortable. And I thought, that's what I'm supposed to do, right? And I literally used to use that terminology, supposed to. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is what love would do, right? This is what he wants from me or expects from me or demands from me. And I also heard myself say settle, like a lot too, to myself, not to other people. And so I got to a point where I'm like, where am I in this? Like, where am I in this relationship? My needs aren't getting met, what I want, or, my vision for my life, like, can you meet me halfway? And then he started saying things to me like, you're high maintenance and you're demanding and you're just like my mom was. And, withdrawing. And eventually I had to get to a point where I said, you know what? I love you. And I got so angry. I was like, I want to make him the enemy. And then that didn't work. I go right back into is this what you would call a toxic cycle?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And when you go, it's like, if we had so much time, you go back and you can trace it back to the limiting beliefs and the stories and the examples and what you learned and picked up as a child that led you to believe that that's what you deserved and that's how you needed to show up. And you weren't able to sort of see the forest through the trees when you were right in it. And so we step back and take a bird's eye view and go, oh my gosh, it is the most loving thing, because it's not our job to fix someone else, right? That is God's spirit, universe, love, and they have to be open to that. Now, the way that you can impact, and I talk a lot about being anchored in love. Really what that means is showing up and being love, staying in an energetic vibration that's aligned with love. And that's, if you look at the Map of Consciousness by David Hawkins, that's a high vibration. That is a very high frequency. And when you're in a relationship with someone that is in a very low frequency, either you're going to be brought down to their level, or they can be brought up to your level. And more times than not, if we are showing up codependently, we're going to go to their level. We think we have to meet them where they are, instead of sticking where we are, firmly grounded and anchored in love, and letting them rise to where we are, or at least having them energetically, they're not going to consciously try to, but just by being consistent, being steady, being loving. And loving can have boundaries as well, but just in a way that's not demanding, and it's not with blame, it's not with shame, it's just a very patient love. But if they can't come up, it's not their time to come up to your level, that's when sometimes we need to leave.
Mm-hmm. So how, I think I get it. And I think a lot of people watching would say, well, I love myself, right? And so but I would have, and I shared this with you before we started recording, 10 years ago, if somebody had asked me, do you love yourself? I'd have been like, oh yeah, I love myself. What are you talking about? But as soon as somebody asked me to say it out loud, even though I'm having this problem or I have this insecurity, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I literally looked at the person like they were doing something really crazy. I was like, why would I say it? What do you mean? Like when I got a little, like on the surface, I thought I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Down inside, I didn't. So I would like it if you could share with the audience, because I feel like there might be some women out there that are like, I get this. I love myself. How do we double check? Is there a way to double check to see if we have a self-love issue?
Well, first of all, check your energy. I think that is a beautiful way. And the other thing I want to bring up here and mention, which is so beautiful, if you guys aren't aware of like the writing of Michael Neal, he wrote a beautiful book called The Inside Out Revolution. And it sheds so much light on the fact that our thoughts create our experience and our feelings. And that in just the same way, Christina, that you and I are talking right now, and let's say that your cell phone starts to ring, you have the absolute ability to just drop that thought, to ignore it, and to stay really focused on what we're doing. We have that ability in every moment of every day to stop and feel the energy and to notice a feeling and to trace it back to a thought. And we have the power to drop the thought. We always have that. It's such a wake-up call when we realize that we are creating our experience and that we create our own suffering. And so if you're feeling like energetically low and heavy, and you can feel that in the pit of your stomach, when you're in a toxic relationship and you just feel off, like that is your barometer for like, this is not self-love. This is not nurturing. This is somewhere I'm out of alignment. Because when you're in alignment and you're really loving and nurturing yourself, you feel good, right? And there are high vibe triggers that I talk about that you can do. And I encourage everyone to make their own list of high vibe triggers. These are things that will help pop you up into a higher energetic vibration. For me, I put on my headset and I go out the door and I go for a walk and I listen to, I make playlists. I have playlists for so many different moods and I listen to a playlist that's empowering to me. I write. I joke and I say I paint with words because I'm a writer. And so processing, I have a tendency to get lost in thought. And when I try to sit down and process a thought, it's like squirrel, bright, shiny object, and I get distracted. But when I write, I can be very laser focused. So journaling is very helpful. Doing things like that, making a list of your high vibe triggers, putting on powerful music, putting on a movie, having a conversation with a friend, going into meditation and prayer, journaling, taking a hot bath. It's different for different people, but we all know things that we can do that pop us, that help us get into a high, they just make you feel good. Oh my gosh. I mean, I cannot put my hands on one of my grandkids without that happening. So it's identifying what are your high vibe triggers and how can I make a list if you want and post it by your desk or on the refrigerator or in the bathroom, because it's habitual. Once we realize that we have the power to drop a thought that is putting us in a lower vibration and to replace it with a thought that's going to bring us into a higher vibration, our whole entire experience of life changes.
Mm-hmm. So I like that practice of making a high vibe trigger list. So these are activities that we can do that will bring us up in vibration towards the vibration of love.
Right.
And now we're being love instead of just thinking, I love myself. We're actually being it. We're feeling it. It's emanating from ourselves.
Yes. Absolutely. And another couple tools for that, for really specifically for self-love, is gratitude. Drop the thought that's creating the low vibe and drop into gratitude. Like I use this analogy with my clients, stop, drop, and roll. We're taught that as kids, right? Mm-hmm. The fire, stop, drop, and roll. Well, stop and identify the negative thought and drop it and drop into gratitude and let the next natural thought roll in. And it works like a charm, because when we cannot be in a state of grace and gratitude and also be fearful and be low energy, because they conflict. So when we drop into deep gratitude, and sometimes that can be as simple as just instantly starting to list the little things that you're grateful for in that moment. That's going to raise your vibration. Another thing as far as self-love is to make a list, like really sit down and think and strive for 100 things. And I know some people are going to be like, we can't be serious. But I mean like 100 things that you love about yourself. And if you need to, enlist the help of family and friends in the beginning and ask for 10 things that they love about you. And make a list, and then go back and look at that list. And I am love, I am loving, I am compassionate, I am kind, I am fit, I take care of my body. I mean, you can go into this and just make this huge list of things. And as you go, I am smart. You just start making your list, and then go back to that when you need to really see yourself and go, wow, I really am a badass. I'm like a really awesome human being.
I get that. And I get a lot of people might think 100 is a lot. So can we just start with 50?
Start with whatever number works for you, but make 100 your goal. Start with what works for you. If you can only come up with 5, come up with 5. But then make it a goal to keep adding, because the more that you accept and appreciate yourself, remember we go back to that love, is acceptance. The more you accept yourself, the easier it is to love yourself. We just have this idea that says it's selfish, right? And it's not selfish. It's the most selfless thing that we can do for ourselves, for our families, for our friends, for the planet, is to actually anchor into love.
Mm-hmm. So am I understanding you correctly? I think what I'm hearing you say is that the generally well, I'm trying to paraphrase you here, so you'll correct me if I don't get it exactly. So the number one problem in relationships is the fact that these two people don't understand that they are love, and instead they're trying to get love from one another.
Right. And when they really learn how to anchor into love and be love, everything changes, because suddenly now we take off the glasses, the filters that say, this is what I was taught about love. I get it externally. You have to do this, this, and this. And everybody's lists are different. If I'm not feeling this, then you're not doing your job. You're not loving me correctly. And we replace those with love and compassion, with eyes of absolute acceptance and compassion. And that can be as simple as, I recognize in the moment that you're doing the very best that you can. Or you start to recognize that it's their confused thinking in the moment that is creating their feeling and their vibration and their lower energy, and that it's nothing personal. It doesn't have anything to do with you. So many times we look at someone else's behavior and say, that's all about me. You don't love me enough. You don't care about me. You're doing this to me. Mm-hmm. Instead of separating and saying, it has nothing to do with me. This has to do with them and their frame of mind in this moment. And by showing up with eyes of compassion for the other person, you can't be judgmental of another person when you're being compassionate. It's just a kind way to move through the world and in relationship.
Got it. And so is this understanding the most important thing that we need to impart to our children as a part of our legacy as well?
I think so. I really believe that, we are taught what we were taught, and our parents were taught what they were, and it just goes on and on and on, right? And we don't ever really stop to question why or if it's working. And so when we teach our kids that they are love, that they come from love, and that they are amazing, and we really encourage them and we love them and we teach them how to love themselves, and they don't start to shift and see that, wait a minute, and these can be language. This can be really simple little things, like, first of all, you staying anchored in love and looking at your child through eyes of compassion. I mean, I'm a mom of 4, and my youngest are twins, so believe me, I get how frustrating it can be and how exhausting it can be, and you're at your wit's end. But when you can look at this little person in the same way that you look at a partner and see that this little child is not doing this to you, they're not doing it to make you angry. They're not doing it to try and frustrate you. They're learning their world. They're navigating their worlds. And so when you meet them with eyes of compassion, and you can have boundaries, but you can do it in such a loving way. You know, I love you so much. You are so smart. You're so creative, but we draw on paper. We don't draw on the wall. I mean, it cannot be a no, and where it's a you're bad, or somehow you made a bad decision, made a bad choice. Kids internalize that and they go, that's me. I'm bad. Whereas you're not bad. Like, let's make a better choice. And you are loving, and you show up loving, and you teach them that love comes from within them. They are love. And you do that just by consistently showing up with compassion, by consistently having boundaries, but do it in a very loving way, and checking your thoughts, learning how to really check your thoughts that are creating your reaction. Mm-hmm. And I really believe that could be like transformational to the world, because we have to start with our kids. We have to. I mean, we start with us and then we impart it on our children, and we have to break the cycles.
I'm freaking with you, man. That's what this is all about. So I agree with you that the most important thing that we can do for ourselves, for each other, for the world, is to release our resistance to being love and being completely 100% and accepting of all of ourselves. And that includes the parts that we would call bitchy or mean or dirty or ugly, right? And to start just coming into a full acceptance of all the brilliance and creativity and intelligence and purpose and passion and sweetness that we have, but not negating that, what we might call like a darker or a more wild side. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, because I mean, again, we're going to show up, we're creating our experience with our thinking. So in that moment, it's being able to just sort of like use that energetic barometer to say, whoa, what thought is creating this darker side? Where's the anger coming from? Or where's the fear coming from? Or where's the entitlement or the lack or whatever it is, right? And then tracing it back to that thought, and then realizing like, okay, well, do I need to go even deeper with this thought? Like, is this a limiting belief that's attached to this? And maybe it's time to let that go. Is it serving me? Because it's always serving you. And in some way, even like a false sense of security, you think that something's keeping you safe. Like, I wrestled with abandonment issues forever because of being adopted and, you know, my story. And then I created relationships to recreate the pattern, to get involved with people that were going to be more apt to abandon. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I was completely recreating constantly to get someone to not leave, to get them to choose me, because that's what I was lacking. When I saw that and I was able to go back and see that I wasn't lacking and I was not ever abandoned, like my mom chose to put me up for adoption, and that really had everything to do with her and not anything to do with me. But I had to go back and find that limiting belief, where that trigger that said, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, everyone that you care about is going to leave. Triggering abandonment issues, it's like you see the cycle that starts. But we can trace it back and we can break it, because it's just acknowledging the thought and then choosing to just drop the thought. We have that power. We just don't think we do, because we're taught it's so hard. It takes years to undo these things. It doesn't take years. It takes an instant. It takes a holy instant where you have an insight that says, this is no longer serving me and I choose to let it go. In the same way that you would let it go if your cell phone was ringing, or, you know, your daughter walked in and said, what are we going to have for dinner? And you're like, I'm on an interview, I'm busy. And you would drop the thought. We have that power.
I like that. I found for me, and for those people who maybe are having a hard time with dropping the thought on their own, that asking a higher power to support me dropping the thought really does the trick. Have you ever tried any?
Absolutely. Prayer is so powerful. Meditation is so powerful. Just surrendering it, just saying, you know, whether you want, you know, it's God, universe, spirit, love, just surrendering it and just simply
Yeah.
saying, you know, I'd love to replace this with a better thought, and I need help doing it. But oh, absolutely. For me, you know, for years and years, it was, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. To me, like, God is love. God is love. But I do still pray. And it is so profound, the messages that I get and the insights from Spirit and just these downloads that really do help me stay in a place of grace that's like forgiveness of myself and not beating myself or judging myself because I'm having anxiety on a particular day, or I'm having, you know, fearful thoughts. It is trust and faith that says, not only do I have the ability, but I am directly connected to like the highest vibration in the universe. That's what I am made manifest. So tuning into that, asking that higher power for help and assistance and guidance, absolutely powerful.
Yeah. And I know you have more help to offer our lucky audience members today. Will you tell us about the extra support, the free gift that you have for the people who are resonating with this conversation right now?
Yes. So what I've created is a 4-video series, and it's called Finding Forever Love. And what I do is I really walk through a 4-step process. And what I love about this, because so many of us, that's what we're seeking, right? We want forever love. And most of us want it in a romantic relationship. We want a partnership. We're hardwired for love. But the problem is that we skip steps and we go straight to the dating websites or straight to, you know, and then we end up in the cycles that we're sometimes not aware of. And it ends up not being a forever love. And so what I want to do in this is we do go deep into talking about what is love. We also talk about what is blocking you and holding you back from finding your forever love, how to break free from that and align and know exactly what it means to be anchored in love. And then what I find with my clients over and over and over again is the universe works like a tuning fork. And we've talked about the law of attraction. People talk about manifestation all the time. But in order to attract that forever love, we get into that vibration where we're anchored in love. And then just like that tuning fork, that's exactly what we draw to us. And so inevitably, most of my clients end up finding their forever love. It's just that we started with the foundation and we worked our way up instead of starting with that as the goal. And then we end up there.
Right. So it's starting with ourselves being love, releasing our resistance to being love, being loving of ourselves, of each other. And then you're saying by emanating that vibration, the universe, through the law of attraction, will deliver us people who match that, rather than if I were to just go on a dating site and be like, oh my God, I'm so lonely. I need somebody to love me. How do I make my selfie look really good so that I look attractive? And now I'm going to get this guy to fall in love with me and ending up in a toxic cycle or not a forever love.
That's right. That's right. And we do it over and over again, and we don't have to. And so it's just building that foundation on a solid foundation of what love really is, understanding that. And in turn, what ends up happening is our forever love could just simply be a relationship with ourselves, right? It could just be falling so deeply in love with yourself in your life that you are walking through life joyfully and content and blissful because you really are aligned with love. It is the most incredible feeling that there is. And again, it's a choice. You know, maybe you're not looking for a romantic partner. Maybe you are just like loving this, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I find is that for those that are looking for that forever love, you're much more apt to attract that person to you that is a vibrational match when you get to that level.
That's awesome. So it's a 4-step process. You can get yours for free right now. I don't know how much, I mean, how could you even put a price tag on something like that? It's going to help you be love, attract perfect, what did you say, forever love, right? And then pass that on to your kids in 4 easy steps. All you have to do is click the link below this video, enter your name and your email address in the box, and Trudy will see you in your inbox in just about 10 seconds from now. Is there anything else that you want to share? I mean, you've given us so much love, and we are so much wealth and opportunities for happiness and bliss from the inside out. Is there anything else that you want to say before we close?
You know, I just think, like, give yourself permission to shine. Like, really give yourself permission to fall in love with you and to invest the time that you need. It's so worth it, right? It's like when you start to invest in you, whether it's doing the 4-part series or book or watching this entire series, like, that is such a gift to you. It is the most loving, compassionate thing that you can do, and it really it will transform your life. It's not even that it might or it could, it will transform your life. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, I can feel the truth in what you're saying. Every time I start to tear up, I know I'm hearing truth, and I love that. Give yourself permission to shine, to explore, to invest in yourself, and it'll pay you back dividends. And everybody that you love and people that you might not ever meet will be blessed by your radiance, as we have been blessed by your radiance today, Trudy. And we are blessed, and I am blessed that you are all hanging out with us today. And I'm just so grateful that you chose to invest your time with us today, and that you're going to choose to invest in receiving this free gift from Trudy by clicking the link below this video, grabbing her free gift before it goes away. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow in your inbox. Trudy, thanks again. God bless you. God bless your business,
you too.
Your children, your family, and God bless all of you as well. Bye-bye.